Wade Wilson is a man with a distinctive face, covered in tattoos, including a Nazi swastika and a terrifying expression. Now he stands before the court in Florida, USA, about to be sentenced, yet he maintains a cold expression and even smiles at times. Why is he there? And why is he considered one of the world's most dangerous criminals? To understand, we need to go back to 2019. Wade Wilson, at 30 years old, brutally murdered two women in Florida, Christiane Melton, 35, and Jane Ruiz, 43. Wilson had a history of legal troubles from a young age, including multiple arrests for minor offenses, and his ex-girlfriend, Melissa Montan Hayes, witnessed his violence and anger. On the night of June 6, 2019, Wade and Melissa went to a local bar called Buddha Live, where they had an argument. Wilson took Melissa's car keys without permission and left. Melissa returned home in a rideshare. The next morning, Wilson called her, enraged, and they arranged to meet outside the spa where Melissa worked. Wilson arrived agitated and in a car that wasn't Melissa's. The car in question belonged to Christine Melton, one of Wade's victims. The previous night, Wade Wilson insisted Melissa get into the car. She told the jury that she refused, aware of her ex-boyfriend's violent past, which infuriated Wade further. He attempted to drag her into the car, yelling and even tearing her dress. Enraged by her refusal, Wade left the vehicle without engaging the handbrake, causing it to roll as he assaulted Melissa on the ground. He punched, kicked, and beat her, and the car, not properly parked, rolled over Melissa's legs. This incident occurred in a parking lot outside Melissa's workplace. She managed to crawl away and call for help. Police arrived minutes later, but Wade had already fled. By this time, Wade had already committed one murder. The night before, he had lured Christine Melton to his home and strangled her to death after she fell asleep. Police investigations revealed that a number Wade used to call Melissa that day was traced to Christine Melton's house. Upon reaching the victim's home, they found her lifeless body. The police then began searching for Christine's stolen car. Surveillance footage showed Wade in a parking lot with the car, and when an undercover officer approached, Wade claimed he was waiting for his girlfriend. The agent tried to stall Wilson until backup arrived, but Wade, visibly agitated, fled the scene. Instead of running far, he went to a friend's shop named Josh. There, he confessed his crimes and asked Josh for financial help. However, Josh called the police. By the time the officers arrived, Wade had already escaped again. Between 9:30 and 11 a.m., Wilson encountered his next victim, Diane Ruiz, a mother of two who worked at Moose Lodge and was walking to work that day. Prosecutors said Wilson pretended to need directions to a school and asked Ruiz to get in the car and show him the way. It's unclear if she entered willingly or was forced. Once in the car, the prosecutors reported that Wilson strangled Ruiz while driving. He told several people that he pulled into an empty parking lot and, after realizing Ruiz was still breathing, threw her out of the car. Using the black Nissan stolen from Christine, he ran over Ruiz's body multiple times until, in his own words, she looked like spaghetti. This description was recorded during an interview with Wade while he was still in prison. The next day, authorities were alerted because Ruiz hadn't shown up for work. Diane Ruiz's body was discovered days later, already decomposing, in a wooded area. With no other options, Wade sought help from his father, who pretended to assist and asked for his address. After obtaining the location, his father contacted the police. Wilson was found at the home of a couple who had been away. He had broken into the house that morning. Wade was arrested and, while in jail, called his ex-girlfriend, confessing to the crimes but claiming he was under the influence of drugs. Wade Wilson faced charges of double homicide and theft. During the trial, he stated he had killed the women without any apparent reason. His lawyer did not dispute Wade's guilt, but argued that drug use was the primary factor behind his heinous actions. Nearly a year after his incarceration, Wilson and his cellmate, Joseph Katz, attempted to escape through a window, according to Sheriff Carmine Massonet, but the plan failed. At another hearing, Wade's lawyer requested permission for his client to cover his facial tattoos with makeup to prevent prejudice during the trial, a request granted by the judge. Despite this, Wade appeared in court without the makeup.
Let the record reflect, state's present, defense counsel, and the defendant are all present.
Assistant Public Prosecutor Andreas Gardner presented the opening argument, describing how Melton, one of the victims, was found in her home in southern Cape Coral wrapped in her bed linens and other belongings. He then detailed how Ruiz had been discovered. The jurors heard the testimony of the suspect's ex-girlfriend, who was assaulted on the same day as the murders. Surveillance footage was shown, depicting Wilson maneuvering around a patrol car to avoid being detained for the assault in Fort Myers. A friend of Christine Melton, Stephanie Johnson, testified against Wade in court. Both women worked at Duffy's in Cape Coral. Johnson, visibly emotional, expressed the deep pain and sorrow caused by the loss of her friend. She mentioned that Melton was not scheduled to work that Monday, which is why she wasn't initially worried when her longtime friend didn't respond to her afternoon message. Melissa Mondelez, the defendant's ex-girlfriend, also testified, recounting the physical abuse she suffered from Wade that day: punches, choking, and insults. Several people witnessed the attack. She remembered doing everything she could to stall for time, hoping to get help and avoid being forced into his car. Wade's father, Mr. Testasica, testified that Wilson called him multiple times on the night of the murders. He explained how his son had told him about meeting Melton at a bar and then going to her house. Throughout this testimony, Wilson showed no emotion, sitting stone-faced and not even whispering to his attorneys. The father recounted his conversation with his son over the phone. After recounting the conversation, the state began questioning Wilson's behavior. During that phone call, Wade appeared excited and animated about what he had done, showing no remorse for his actions when called to testify. Wilson chose to remain silent and did not take the stand. Prosecutor Andreas Gardner read several statements from Wade during an interview while he was still in jail. In one of them, Wilson mentioned that he would kill his ex-girlfriend Melissa too, if given the chance. The jury found Wilson guilty on all 6 counts as charged. Wilson showed no emotion as the clerk read the verdict form. In the audience, the victims' families could be seen holding hands and crying. The jury recommended the death penalty for Wade. He now awaits his sentencing in prison. And if Wade's case shocked you, check out the case of the killer Joseph Matheny, a criminal just as dangerous as Wade.